What's going on, guys? We got a really exciting day here. We just got the full Phase 4 preview from Blizzard, and we're going to take a watch right now and then talk about each aspect of it. And I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions, and I want you guys to do the same thing down in the comments below. So, without further ado, let's watch.
Hi, everyone. I'm Clay Stone, Associate Production Director of WoW Classic. Welcome to our Season of Discovery Phase 4 preview. It is time. At long last, we're raising the level cap to 60 and jumping into the endgame. For those of you who have been playing since launch, thank you for going on this journey with us. And to those of you just jumping in, now that the full level up experience is available, you've picked a great time to join us. I also want to give a massive shout out to everyone who has hopped into our first ever Season of Discovery PTR to help us test and tune all of the changes and additions coming to classes. Your feedback has been invaluable in helping us prepare for what's ahead. That said, even though
Just want to take a moment to say that is us. We've all been, my entire guild, myself included, and anyone else, being on this PTR for the past couple of weeks, I think is just super important. And it really, as we can see, has been making a pretty big difference in how they tune these runes and classes for this upcoming phase. So yeah, thank you to us and to all of you, anyone who has been on the PTR. Let's continue.
the PTR was focused on classes, we know many of our eagle-eyed players saw hints at the content changes we're making to Endgame, and it's time for us to talk about some of those today. So, let's take a look at what we'll be covering. We'll kick things off with content at 60, then jump into raid information, followed by some important itemization updates, then dive into world event updates as well as some system updates, and more, which you're definitely going to want to stick around for. Alright, so whether you're already familiar with Classic era content, or you're experiencing it for the first time with Season of Discovery, or you just want a refresher, raising the level cap to 60 brings with it a ton of new content and things to do, including access to all WoW Classic zones like the Burning Steppes, Eastern and Western Plaguelands, Silithus, and Winterspring. You'll also be able to finally max out your character talents. In addition, the Alterac Valley Battleground will also be unlocked. Epic mounts will be available to collect, and more. Also, all of the classic dungeons will now be available, including Scholomance, Stratholme, all three wings of Dire Maul, and Blackrock Spire. And because the bosses have stopped spending their time in Phase 3 socializing in the Grim Guzzler Tavern, the second half of the massive Blackrock Depths dungeon. In addition, there just might be one more dungeon surprise we're not going to talk about today, but we're excited for players to discover.
Wait a minute, dude. Wait a minute. Let's watch that again. A new dungeon surprise, right? Let's take a look at this and see if we can kind of figure out what they're talking about here.
Blackrock Depths dungeon. In addition, there just might be one more dungeon surprise we're not going to talk about today, but we're excited for.
Where is this? This isn't Felwood.
For players to discover.
Where is
Switching
that?
gears, Blackrock Depths dungeon. In addition, there just might be one more dungeon surprise we're not going to talk about today, but we're excited for players to discover.
Interesting.
Switching gears to a quick note
Very
about
interesting, guys. What do you think?
Since we've had the PTR up for the past few weeks, none of the runes are a complete secret, so we aren't going to be spending a lot of time in this presentation talking about runes or classes. However, we will be posting a rundown of new runes and class adjustments separately from this video, so please check the official World of Warcraft forums for that. Moving on to raids. As we previously announced, the Molten Core raid will be scaled down to 20 players and will contain adjustments to the boss encounters across the 11 bosses for you to take on. Just going to leave that there. We are
11 bosses. So, the original Molten Core had 10 bosses, if I'm not mistaken. So, 11 bosses, meaning that we have one extra boss in Molten Core, and I wonder who it's going to be.
Excited for everyone to hop in and get their hands on the brand new revamped Tier 1 sets that now have multiple variants for different specializations and playstyles that each class has access to. Tier sets aren't the only place we've made improvements, with many non-set items also getting a hefty overhaul as well. Lastly, we are excited to announce that we will be having a scalable difficulty system in Molten Core, allowing players to turn up the heat inside.
See, that is what I am the most excited for. I think that the scalable difficulty system for these raids honestly could have been in from the start, and really, as long as you're not getting substantial rewards for clearing that harder difficulty, I think it really does fit Classic, right? It makes it for everyone. It makes it for the guilds who really just want to get together and, eat some food, maybe drink some beers and just clear the raid with their friends and have a good time. And it also caters to the other people who maybe want to sweat a little bit. So I think that this is a great change. I'm actually really excited about this. And I'm really kind of curious to see how hard that highest level of difficulty is, right? Because so we saw that tweet from Sarth like a couple of weeks ago on the PTR showing the turn up the heat level 2 or 1, 2 or 3. So it looks like there was like 3 difficulties. So I'm curious to see how difficult the third level is, or the second level is if it is only 2. But I'm pretty sure it might be 3. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to wait and see.
And face ever-growing challenges. Some aspects of this system were visible on the PTR, and we've enjoyed listening to speculation and, most importantly, your comments and feedback around this new difficulty system and the potential reward structure. As we've been listening to this feedback, we've wanted to let you know that raising the heat level will not affect the quality of rewards. The quality will remain consistent as the difficulty goes up. Instead, it will increase the quantity of rewards.
Okay, guys. So that's an important thing to know that, this is a wild way to pause. Sorry, dude. So doing the harder difficulty of Molten Core isn't going to get you better loot. It's going to get you more loot, right? So you're not stronger than other people. You may get stronger faster, but you're not gaining a higher item level piece of gear for doing the harder difficulty. I think this was a great way to do it, to keep the player base kind of all together in one. If they did it where the hardest level of Molten Core was going to give you really high item level loot compared to the normal level, all that's going to happen is people are going to get really upset, and obviously everyone is going to want to be clearing that hardest difficulty, and I don't think that would have fit the classic or Season of Discovery theme very well, so this was a really good way to do it.
Some of the more valuable drops in the raid appear more often. In general, we don't want to heavily...
But here's a question. Does that mean that we get more bindings? More chances at bindings, huh? Interesting.
The best quality gear behind high difficulty content in Season of Discovery, as we really just don't think that's what the season is about. But if you do want to push yourself, you will find additional challenges and perhaps be able to gear up a tiny bit faster. Onyxia's lair has also seen some significant loot overhauls as well. And while Onyxia has misplaced her stockpile of tier 2 helms, she is going to have plenty of juicy loot for you to chase in its place. We are also taking a new approach for raid size with Onyxia, as she will ultimately be tuned to be completed with 20 players, but the allowable raid size is up to 40 players. We love 40-player raiding, but we think it ultimately works best as a soda and pretzels type of content. In other words, the same level of difficulty you come to expect from Classic. So, if you are forming a pickup group and want to ensure quick success, you can bring 40 players. But if you are running with your guild, 20 players may make more sense to maximize your rewards. World bosses have had an interesting history in World of Warcraft, particularly in early versions of WoW, where they were hotly contested and created...
So let's talk about that for one quick second. So Onyxia's lair, right, originally in original vanilla, 40 person raid. Now it's tuned for 20, but you can still go with 40, which is really nice, right? So with your guild, you're going to most likely do 20 because you want to, optimize how fast you guys get that loot. Because if you bring 40, you're going to be splitting that loot. But they're right. If you're forming a pug and you want to ensure that you actually down it, you might want to bring a little bit more than 20. I like that too. I think that's a good idea.
Flashpoints for, let's say, interesting player interactions. While we love this intense competition in Classic 2019, one drawback to the content is that due to its limited availability, it tended to be content that most players never got to meaningfully interact with. We aim to make it a bit more accessible in Season of Discovery by instancing the content off and handling it similarly to what we just discussed with Onyxia. The raids will be tuned for 20, but can be done with up to 40 players to make it friendly to both organized groups and pickup groups. Related to these changes, and to talk all things loot, I'll turn it over to our lead engineer on Classic, Nora Valletta.
All right, so world bosses are now also going to be the same as, we just heard for Onyxia. So Onyxia and the world bosses are going to be tuned for 20 players, but you can do them with 40. They're going to be instanced. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've been playing WoW for 20-ish years at this point. I've never actually done those. I didn't even do them in 2019 Classic because obviously the sweatiest and biggest guilds have complete control over those bosses normally. And, that's what they're saying here is that basically like much of the player, I would argue that 90%, if not more of the player base has never been able to down one of those bosses or even been a part of it. So it's really cool that they kind of made it into a way where we can all experience it. I think another positive change there.
Take it away, Nora.
Thanks, Clay. We're excited to share some of the cool new loot you'll find in Phase 4 of Season of Discovery. First, let's check out some of the new dungeon loot you'll find in Phase 4. We've got Iron Foe, which has had its level increased to 58 and now grants 18 attack power when equipped. Next,
there's no way that this is not going to be pre-bis or bis for Fury Warrior. Just saying. That is huge, dude. 18 attack power. Grants 2 extra attacks on your next swing, plus wild strikes. Like, come on, man.
We've got Idol of Exsanguination, which causes your Lacerate ticks to energize you for 5 rage.
Ooh, that's
Totem
interesting.
of the Plains reduces the cast time of your Healing Rain spell by 100%. Taking inspiration from players using the 3-piece set in Sunken Temple for Shamans, we thought it might feel bad to completely lose that set bonus as an option. Having it be a totem you can swap on and off for fights made a lot of sense here. Burst of Knowledge has had its item level increased to 58, its spell power increased, and its active cooldown reduced from 15 minutes down to 5 minutes. Finally, we've got Libram of Holy Alacrity, which causes Holy Shock to reduce the cast time of your next 2 Holy Lights by 0.2 seconds. Our classic Tier 0 dungeon and Tier 0.5 dungeon upgrade sets have seen a full overhaul as well. In original WoW, a basic dungeon set of 8 items dropped in max level dungeons, and an epic quest chain was introduced in later patches to upgrade those items into a higher quality version of that set. In Season of Discovery, this is still true, but the upgrade quest chain will be available right at the launch of Phase 4, and each class is now able to choose between multiple dungeon upgrade set items that accommodate multiple class specializations as they move through the quest chain. While you will have to choose which variation of each set you want during the quest line, the other variants will be obtainable via gold and other means once the quest chain is complete, so you will have access to every set for your class if you want to try them all. These sets
really
were
cool.
testable on the PTR, and we've had a blast watching people get excited about both the new stats and appearances of these sets as well. What about raid loot? Here's a quick look at a few of the items from Molten Core. First up, we've got an awesome looking elemental shaman shield called Earth and Fire. Looks similar to the rank 14 PvP shield, but with a distinct new color variation. We've got Magmadar's right and left claw, which allow you to summon core hounds to aid you in combat. The 3 set bonus actually allows you to transform into Magmadar for a brief period of time. But how about Faithbringer, a 2-handed paladin weapon for healing? Or Key to the City.
Wow, I actually didn't see Faithbringer. That for some reason maybe I missed it. 3.9 speed 2-handed mace that gives you stam, intel, 1 crit, and 76 plus healing. That is awesome. I've always thought that paladins should be healing with 2-handers. I love that I've always loved that, and I thought it was something that should be done. I'm glad that they did that.
City, a caster staff from Onyxia. Finally, Obsidian Edgeblade, which has been changed from a +8 to 2-handed swords to a +3. We've added 1% crit with those stats and made it just a tad slower. Our dungeon sets won't be the only color variations you'll see in Phase 4. Here are some of the cool Tier 1 color variations we've got coming soon. Next.
Yeah, so like on the right here, that's the Warrior Prot set with the blue. The DPS set is red, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about the Hunter one, but on the left, that's the Rogue tank set, like Night Slayer. It's black and gold. It's pretty cool, actually.
Why don't we spend a few minutes talking about world events? The Blood Moon is not seeing any major adjustments for Phase 4 and will not be a vector for new items or player power, but it will continue to happen on its normal timer. We wanted to mention this because we are nearing level 60, which means that players will soon have access to the highest level PvP rewards, and many players will be ranking up to get them. In order to help with the honor gain process, we're introducing a new Blood Moon currency in Phase 4. When the new currency is introduced, Bloodstained Commendations will have had their cost reduced from 1 silver coin to 25 copper coins. We envision Blood Moon carrying on as—
So that's interesting. Basically, the Blood Moon event is now going to turn into an honor farming event, which is, I think that's pretty good. It might make for some pretty good good stuff, but we have to kind of wait and see, right? Because we know that the Black Rock Eruption event is coming. I'm sure that they're about to talk about that, so let's see. And then we'll kind of compare the two. I mean, do we really think people are going to go back and do the Blood Moon event at 60? Probably not, but if the honor gains are really that good, maybe they will. Who knows, right?
as an evergreen supplement to the normal PvP honor ranking process. If you'd like to interrupt your BG queues for a bit of quick, chaotic world PvP, my favorite, you and your group can venture into Stranglethorn Vale during the Blood Moon and supplement your honor farm. Next, we're making some significant adjustments to Nightmare Incursions, shifting the mission quests over to a simpler daily quest format. We really love the overall theming of Nightmare Incursions, but think these adjustments will help make them feel like an optional supplement to normal leveling, rather than the be-all, end-all leveling activity for all new characters. As a result of this format change, we are also planning to tone down the difficulty of some of the creatures within Nightmare Incursions to make these quests a bit more solo-friendly.
Okay, so that's obviously, we knew this was coming too. The Nightmare Incursion change, for anyone who doesn't fully understand it, basically what's happening is it is literally going to turn into, from what I'm guessing, gathering here from this, a daily quest hub. I'm assuming there will be no more sharing the quests with everyone, this and that, with all those items, 40 items in your bags. You're going to be able to go there once a day, probably pick up every single quest from one NPC and just kind of do one loop and bang them out. I think that's a great change.
The experience gained from these activities will cap out at level 53 as well, but the quests will remain available through level 60, should you desire to earn a reputation. Overall, we learned a lot of great lessons for Nightmare Incursions, which we plan on carrying forward for any potential future events. And speaking of future events, for Phase 4's outdoor event, we've taken a few of the lessons learned from previous events and are applying them to a new, more lightweight outdoor event, the Blackrock Eruption. This event will occur every 2 hours and see additional spawns, daily quest content, opportunities for reputation gain, and increased honor rewards from World PvP.
So they say additional spawns. I'm not sure really what that means. Maybe like additional mob spawning, because I'm assuming that some of these daily quests are going to require some of these mobs. But bonus honor gained inside of Blackrock Mountain only during the event. I think this is awesome, and they're leaning into that OG vanilla vibe of like anyone who has, been part of even 2019 Classic or, prior to that in original WoW. Blackrock Mountain is like a hub for world PvP. So really kind of cool to see them lean into this. I'm really excited about this event.
Outside of Blackrock Mountain, the forces of the Fire Lord are wreaking havoc. Join the Thorium Brotherhood in repelling these attacks with new daily quests to help grow your reputation with the Thorium Brotherhood and earn quicker access to powerful crafting recipes and other rewards. Inside the mountain, you'll find your blood is running extra hot, causing you to gain bonus honor only within the mountain itself. As for reputation, we are adding brand new upgraded versions of the existing crafted rewards from Thorium Brotherhood, Argent Dawn, Timbermaw Hold, and Hydraxian Waterlords. We've also got some really cool for fun items that allow you to teleport to Azshara, lay a fire resist area of effect that your allies can stand in, or turn you into a water elemental. You'll be able to place these for fun items on your keyring, saving you some valuable bag
that's
space.
awesome.
Anyways, I've got some rep to farm, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass things off to our senior producer, Josh Greenfield, who'll be happy to share some of our upcoming systems updates.
Thanks, Nora. Going into Phase 4, we've made a few significant system updates we're excited to share. First up, we took a lot of the lessons we've learned from the Wild Offerings currency and have expanded on that system with a new deterministic currency we're calling Tarnished Undermine Reals. You can start earning these coins from most non-rare spawn dungeon bosses over level 55, and each boss will drop a single currency for each player in the group once per day per boss. This currency can be used to purchase a variety of things, such as rare crafting recipes, crafting materials, powerful gear, as well as a variety of other valuable items. We've gotten a lot of feedback from players asking for ways to keep dungeon content relevant longer, and this is one way we're looking at keeping dungeon runs feeling rewarding at level 60.
That is fantastic. And let me tell you why. Because the problem is, after you've already got your Prebis, right, you really have had no reason to go back to these dungeons. Now, with this currency, they didn't go into specifics about the rewards, but I'm assuming if they are good rewards, they said crafted recipes, powerful gear, other things, reagents. So that's going to actually keep people in those dungeons, so it'll kind of help it to not die out, right? Like normally the beginning of the phase, everyone would be pumping these dungeons, but going. And then about a month in, it kind of gets a little hard to find a group. But adding a daily currency that drops 1 token per boss in all of these high-level dungeons once per day is great. And I think it is a fantastic way to keep, the end game dungeons alive.
We're also particularly excited about a brand new feature to World of Warcraft Classic, a twice-weekly raid lockout system.
Interesting.
One bit of feedback we got early on was that 3-day lockouts on raids was difficult for guild leaders to manage due to the inconsistency of when reset days occurred. In Sunken Temple, we moved the lockout to weekly to add a bit more stability, but we always wanted to revisit this to see if there was a way for us to provide the increased cadence and content availability that the 3-day lockout provided, but with a bit more stability and predictability to help with better raid planning. The twice-weekly lockout accomplishes this by having raids using this lockout interval reset twice a week on static reset days. For example, in North America, twice-weekly raids will reset on Tuesday and Saturday mornings. We plan to use this lockout interval for all of the raids in Phase 4. We feel that with the pace of Season of Discovery, this is a great step forward to allow you to raid more if you choose to.
That's amazing. So we're going back to not a 3-day lockout, but twice weekly raiding, like he said. So the raids will reset for NA, where I am, Tuesdays and Saturdays. So now you can actually fully plan those raid days, because on the 3-day lockout, it kind of shifted when the resets were, right? So it was really hard to kind of keep like a static 2 days a week that everyone could be available. You know, people are working, people are busy and have lives and things like that. So I think this is a really good system. I'm excited. I love Molten Core. I love BWL. This is my favorite part of Classic, is level 60, the Prebis farm, and all the, even there's the Classic raids. So to be able to do those twice a week per character, I think is going to be really great. And also I feel that being able to do the raids 2 times a week, in my opinion, keeps your guild and your players more involved, right? When you do the raid once on, let's say, a Tuesday night towards the middle of a phase, you know, basically everyone logs off. Like if there's half of your raid is gone and just raid logging at that point, they're not logging back on until next Tuesday. So you don't even see or talk to these people for an entire 7 days. So I think this is great. And I'm excited to see how it works out.
At this point, we're approaching the home stretch, but we do have a few more updates to share before we close things out. With Phase 4 and the increase to level 60, players will begin having access to max level world buff effects. In Season of Discovery, we're also planning to add an alliance equivalent to Warchief's Blessing,
Oh,
the
thank
Might
God.
of Stormwind.
Thank
as fun
God,
as it was
dude.
to skulk around the crossroads on our alliance characters, hoping for a kindly priest to mind control us for a chance at Warchief's Blessing, this should make getting your world buffs a bit less cumbersome for Alliance players. As with previous phases, Discoverer's Delight will continue to function from 50 to 59, providing a 50% experience boost in that level range. We've learned a lot of great lessons about leveling, and while we want you to level a little bit faster, there's a lot of content in the 50 to 60 range, and we don't want to totally trivialize the journey in Phase 4. So having a more nominal buff from 50 to 59 makes sense. Characters from 1 through 49 will still enjoy 150% experience increase as well.
Very
So
good,
it should
very
be
good.
super easy to get those alts caught up. Like previous level up raids, Sunken Temple will give a generous amount of XP, so running that while you're leveling could give you a good bump as well.
Yeah, and I was talking about this with my guild the other day, actually. Sunken Temple has a lot of bosses, right? So is it going to be worth it to be parked right outside of there, and when our XP bar turns on launch day, we just blast through a Sunken Temple? Or is it going to be more like it's more worth it to start off like dungeon farming or whatever we're planning on doing? With Nomer, with BFD Phase 1 going into Phase 2, we found it was worth it to blast BFD. With Nomer, it really was not. We did it very quick in like 30 minutes, but the XP that it rewarded, I think we could have gotten more if we had started the dungeon farm. So I think Sunken Temple might be more like BFD in terms of giving you a really good amount of XP.
In Phase 4, we plan to allow blacksmiths and leatherworkers to swap their profession specs for a nominal cost. This will not quite
Very
be ready
nice.
for the launch of Phase 4, but we do plan to introduce it a short time later. Perhaps most excitingly, we've done major overhauls to many iconic in-game crafting recipes, with dozens of recipes replaced or given a method to upgrade into even better versions of their original crafted items. First up, we've got the refined Hammer of the Titans, a two-handed mace with 2.0 speed that has a very hefty amount of feral attack power. It also retains its classic 3-second stun proc, which will now proc in druid forms. And who could forget the iconic Arcanite Reaper, newly upgraded and refined into a 4.0 speed powerhouse.
That's huge.
With improved stats and a very fancy new classicified glow. These are just 2 examples out of many iconic crafting recipes to receive major glow-ups in Phase 4, so get out there and get crafting. Looking to the raid release schedule, in a departure from previous phases, we've decided to space out the unlock of raid content following launch. Azergos and Kha'Zix will go live 1 week after launch, with Molten Core and Onyxia the week after that.
All right.
Phase 4 is going to have a ton of compelling things to do right at 60, with a lot of new and improved loot to chase. We think that this pre-raid gearing phase is one of the best parts about hitting level 60.
I think this is amazing. Anyone of you has been watching my videos on what I think Phase 4 should be, or really since the beginning of Season of Discovery, this is the best thing they've ever done, because the raid will not be out on launch. We're getting a week in between launch and the world bosses, and then another week for when Molten Core unlocks. I think that's fantastic, because that pre-BIS farm is one of the best parts. Like, I'll say it again, it's my favorite part of Classic. So to have people actually get to experience it and not feel super duper rushed is going to be great. I think that was fantastic. I'm so excited.
On a fresh character, and giving that pre-raid best in slot process a bit of time to breathe and giving you some worthwhile goals to accomplish ahead of the raids becoming available is very exciting. Should provide you with a lot of great, satisfying gear progression leading up to those raids becoming available. With that, we are done with today's presentation. We appreciate your patience as we're working diligently to get Phase 4 into your hands. We really appreciate all of the participation in our recent PTR releases, and we continue to consume your feedback as we're finishing things up for Phase 4. As always, the WoW Classic development team is incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you for playing with us, and thank you for your feedback and participating and helping us develop this season. We'll see you again when Season of Discovery Phase 4 goes live on July 11th, 2024.
All right.
Thank you and goodbye.
All right. So July 11th is our release date. That is awesome. We've gotten pretty much everything that we asked for at this point, but I will mention one thing. You know, I have to mention one thing that I didn't hear in this video that I'm a little upset about, and that is rune acquisition. Dude, we still have to go find all of these runes and take hours and hours and hours, even if we've done it already or multiple times. Maybe it's something that's coming that they didn't mention in here, but that's a pretty big system change, and I was kind of waiting for the Agron part at the end to see if he mentioned it. Maybe they really, really don't want to change it, and they do want to leave it in the game as the way that it is, but I'm hoping that somewhere down the line here, we can buy a box of Phase 1 runes, box of Phase 2 runes, box of Phase 3 runes. Like, that would be fantastic. Maybe with that currency, the dungeon currency, right, that you get from the bosses in the endgame dungeons, like maybe you can make it so that 20 of those coins, you can buy a BOA box of Phase 1 runes and send that to an alt that you're about to level. So you level 1, boom, you open this box and you get all your Phase 1 runes. Like, that would be a sick system. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But I'm excited. I hope you guys are all excited too. I think the Classic team is doing a fantastic job. They obviously listened to all of us creators that have been giving suggestions and complaining and whining on YouTube and, you know, the forums and all that stuff. They really are listening. And honestly, this team is amazing. And this looks like it's going to be a great time. And I'm really excited. So thank you all so much for watching and listening in. If you guys want to hang out with me on Twitch, twitch.tv/hammerdance, I'll drop a link to that in the description below this video. I go live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And here's the thing. If you guys are looking for a Discord community, we are welcoming every single new member that wants to be part of our community. We do run a guild on Alliance Lone Wolf in NA. We are the Tavern, and we have a lot of fun. We have some raid spots available for certain classes, so just join the Discord. If you don't want to join the guild, yeah, join the Discord and just hang out with us. It's a pretty active community. We all just absolutely love Classic WoW and Season of Discovery, so we'll welcome you with open arms. But anyways, yeah, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.